Okay. Last time I finished Mimi's route. In the final prize is soup, and I was kind of afraid like whether I'll be able to play the other route because I would feel bad for her, but here we are. We are going to play it somehow. Anyway, hello, let's play. Let's see what is up in the other route. Mimi's route was really touching us. Hopefully this is nice too. I think we are going to skip a little bit like the beginning because there is nothing about 11 in the beginning exactly. So skip the beginning. Probably like here. I don't think like this is probably just like a bad end if you mess up like the beginning part. So we are basically like here we are done with the like first trial. Okay. I didn't think my brain was capable of dreaming up someone as beautiful as 11. Perhaps I took too much note of Yangsu's soap operas. She looked like she walked right out of one of them. Judge of the 11th court. For someone who presided over games, she didn't seem to enjoy much of it. Her nightmares never made sense. They just existed to scare people. I couldn't help but wonder, for someone as beautiful as 11 to exist in a nightmare, was it really a nightmare? Oh, give me a second, by the way. Make sure I have just and everything working. Okay, should be good now. Perhaps she was the silver lining of that cloud. Silver. I hummed to myself as I thought about 11. Silver didn't suit her. She was certainly a bright and vibrant red, fighting against a black cloud. Then again, I knew nothing at all about her. Oh, I guess we have to think about both of them anyway. We should probably have just seen so we can skip. Okay, stay with 11. This should be new. So, even if I was bothering her, I had promised her tea. It was hardly the polite thing to abandon that offer now. Letting the topic drop, I walked to the kitchen and prepared the tea. 11 waited wordlessly in the living room as I did so. She has her own theme music, I guess. That's nice. They're like ancient China vibes, I guess. At least it feels like that based on video games. Within a few minutes, I returned to the living room with 2 cups of tea in tow, which I placed on the coffee table. Tea on a coffee table. 11 was already seated on one end of the couch. I wonder like if they have like coffee tables in China or if they are tea tables or just tables. Like I guess like the coffee table is like this. I don't know, like maybe it would go as coffee table in Finland too. I had no idea. Usually it was just table. She wasn't a normal guest. Not quite a friend, but somehow not an enemy either. I had a chance at regaining my life thanks to her. She didn't feel like an enemy. I don't drink a lot of tea, but I was told this is a fancy brand. Some big shot CEO gifted it to me on a business trip. The CEO did. Jealous. Tut. Fair. It was given to everyone who attended the meeting. She didn't single me out, I promise. I wasn't worried. I chuckled at her immediate response as I sat next to her. Can you tell me why I'm a sinner? What makes you think you're not? Like everybody is a sinner, I guess. That's how it goes, right? Like even like a baby who dies like really early on is sinner, I guess. That's how it goes. I guess like that is like the justification that people would use for somebody dying early. Though I don't think anybody will say that aloud, at least. Maybe it sounds like more indirect, like or the mom was a sinner or something. I don't think I have done anything particularly worse than the average human, but everybody is a sinner. There were the occasional white lies, the flapping of my time card, overly boisterous description of my job on a date, but they were hardly sins. Like the sin, at least, like one of them we know because we played Mimi's route. Well, the sin was being an asshole. Not sure like if it is like if it goes under the like big 7 sins or something. If those were sins, the entire human race couldn't be spared. I don't have a file on everyone that the king invites to the games of the 11th court. The king of the 11th court. 11 had mentioned the king before, but spared details each time. I don't wish to talk about the king. Well, that was blunt. Alright. I suppose no one wanted to talk about their boss during their time off. 11 picked up the teacup and took a sip. This is pretty good. To think I'm the one who still gets to enjoy good tea. You're the one. How old do you think I am? Not a day over 18. Ha ha ha. Even if it was sarcastic, I liked the sound of her laugh. It was delicate but strong, with purpose and individuality despite what fate might have brought for her. That would follow, considering I haven't visibly aged much since. And despite how I look, I have outlived so many old bastards who would never get to taste tea like this again. You sure are fond of that tea. Well-grown tea leaves are well-grown tea leaves. No idea like how much goes into growing tea leaves. I think like you could just like grab random leaves of the trees and it would kind of be tea. That doesn't change with the centuries. A come to think about it, like why did they have to like colonize like India and stuff for tea anyway? Like you can make tea out of like other buses anyway. I reached over for the tin of leaves. Would you like it? No thank you. You can't bribe a judge of the 11th court. What? I couldn't help breaking into laughter. 11 raised an unamused brow at me. No, I wouldn't bribe you. At least not with tea leaves I got for free from a flirty CEO. So she was flirty. If I wanted to bribe you, trust me, you wouldn't see it coming. No, I just want you to have this. If you like it, I'm in. Keeping it in the tin will make the tea lose all its flavor, since I don't drink tea or make boba. I know, like from the other, like visual novels now, that boba is milk tea, I guess. Something like that. Like considering that like this space is like imaginary. No less giving out the tea. Like it's free tea. Boba. Her face twisted in distaste. What use would tea have for women's? Oh, that's what I was thinking too. Like first time I heard it. Like what is boba? Is it like it sounds like it's that? No, you don't know what bubble tea is. Bubble tea. The expression was still dark. For a moment I was afraid she'd storm right out of my apartment with the wrong idea. Given how she dressed, it was no surprise that she hadn't caught up with modern terminology. It's a popular drink nowadays. Tea with milk, sugar, and tapioca balls. So it has more than just milk. The sugar, like that's normal tea too, at least for me. I can't drink it raw. We call the tapioca balls boba. But they are the boba. I thought it was the milk that made it boba. Still looked skeptical. I'll take you out for summer after I win the games. Then you'll see that I'm not lying. Alright. Like if she were lying and it were like the other boba. It's a date then. Assuming that she like gets out of here too, which I guess we are trying to do at least. But it's not a date if she stays a judge. Here. I held a tin of tea leaves out to her. I promised to do so. ... She stared at the tin so long I was afraid she wouldn't take it, but finally she took it into her hand. Thank you. She placed the tin within her sleeves. I never did understand the physics behind those pockets. Like pockets in the sleeves, well, I could see it handy actually. Hey. The sternness in her voice brought me back to the gravity of my situation. One where jokes about tea and tapioca pearls didn't belong. There will be 2 more trials to the game of life. Have your wits about you and be prepared. I would hate to see you lose. Is that something you say to every contestant, or just me? She didn't respond, only disappearing once I blinked. Now I guess we can skip. Maybe. Let me see that the options are correct. Like it should be this, right? No, it shouldn't be like it does. This is how it's right. It won't skip the unseen text. Well, I guess we can't skip yet. When this lights up, I guess. Okay, now. I'm probably going to skip quite a bit. Okay, let's find 11 instead. I'm going to find 11. Since she's the judge, she might let some hints slip if I ask her. Okay, stay safe. I will, thank you. Giving Yasu a wave, I parted from her and began my search for 11. Going up my gut feeling, I strolled in the southeast direction. Unfortunately, also nothing of note along the hallways that I passed through. Passing a hall lined with shadows, facing outward. I looked outside and saw a garden with a pond, some flowers resembling lotuses on the water surface. Squinting, I noticed some figures, other players, already searching through the garden. After a while, I heard the sound of multiple footsteps. I approached the noise. Then I saw her. There she was, standing out with her long black hair and bright red dress. Oh yeah, hello chat. Yuri stood amidst a bunch of maidservants who were moving large decorations and furniture, directing their actions. I endeavored to ignore the unnerving servants while walking toward you. Before I could say anything, she noticed me. Hello. She gestured for the servants to continue what they were doing, making them stop looking our way. Question mark. I'm here to request your help. What for? I contemplated whether she would prefer me to beat around the bush or get straight to the point. I decided on the latter. Finding the key, passing this key. He stared at me in silence, as if waiting for me to say that I was joking. However, humans don't often come to me for help during the game of life. Why do you think that I would assist you? What was the line that got? It was just that. I wasn't joking. I don't believe you mentioned any rules against asking the judge for help. Surely a small hint would be allowed. It goes unsaid for most that you should not ask the judge. Haha, but fair enough. I will give you one small hint. I perked up, preparing myself to commit the information to memory. the key is nearby. She did not elaborate. Looking around, I wondered what being nearby entailed. While a helpful clue, it left me with still a sizable range to cover, with no clear idea of what I was looking for. What exactly is the key? For example, a classical key, a non-key shaped object, a magnetic strip card. You will know that you have found it when you see it. Yuri repeated the same information as when she initially explained the rules. Perhaps I made a troubled expression. I'm afraid that I am in fact not allowed to help you pass any round in the game of life. However, know that I am not your enemy. Then will you be my ally? Do you think I can be? I did. However, my instincts told me that she would not be able to accept my feelings, whether for the impartiality of a judge or the internal affairs of the 11th court. Given like this, I guess we don't have a whole lot of time to interact with her. There will be time in the dinner, but apart from that, is she going to help in the last trial? I kinda doubt it. I was certainly familiar with unpleasant workplace politics. Does I send her a quick wink instead? I like to think the best of pretty girls. Elon caught off guard. You seem like a poor judge of character. Although, if I were to say that, then I may also be a poor judge of character. Complicated expression flitted across her face, with this really roundabout way of flirting back. You're a fool for thinking me pretty, but I'm also a fool for the same reason. My lips are loose today, so allow me to give you a warning. Watch your ethic around the king of the 11th court. If you are able to find the key and attend the feast as a guest, then you must mind your manners. She tilted her head towards the maids. The servants belong to the king, and they will be watching over this trial just like the ghosts from the previous round. But those were ghosts, I guess. The dark monsters. I guess they did call them ghosts later too. But not sure they aren't very traditional ghosty kind of things. Clang. A clattering sound, that of a maid dropping one end of a large covered frame, broke the mood of our conversation. That is all I can say for now. I nodded. Turning a single nod, she walked toward the offending servant and instructed the servants on what they were supposed to do. The maid shuffled along, regaining a sense of freedom, and 11 followed after them, shooing them forward. I called out after her. Thank you for the hint and the warning. Without turning back, she responded to me. You're welcome. Before long, Ochi and the maids disappeared from my line of sight. Okay, well, now we are skipping again, I guess. I guess like this is different because we weren't there when the hint was found. I refreshened up in the attached bathroom of my assigned room and hopped in the bed after turning off the lights, ready to rest after the long day. I guess also like we are alone in the room, I guess. That's also different. Knock, knock, knock. Someone was at the door. This is ignore for sure. Ignore the knocking, feeling that whatever the other person had to say could wait for tomorrow morning. If it was really that important, they could just yell through the door. Knock, knock. Despite all of the knocking, whoever stood at the other side of the door never once spoke. Knock, knock, knock. Something was wrong. Feeling unease settled in my gut. I sat up in bed and gazed at the door until the knocking finally stopped. Click. I heard the muffled sound of the survivor next door opening the door. Then the woman screamed. This we have seen, but I guess we can't skip it. And stopped screaming with the squelch, which I shouldn't have been able to hear through the wall. But we have pretty much seen this. Instead, I simply continued watching the door, dinching my fingers into my now clammy palms. Eventually the sound stopped. I held my breath, footsteps disappeared out of the hallway, leaving a final and lasting silence. Cautiously slipping out of bed, I turned on the lights in my room. I looked around the room to my relief. There was nothing else in here with me. Oh, this is different. Suddenly, 11 appeared by my side. All of a sudden. This I didn't expect. I thought it would just be the dinner. Dodging away from her on instinct, I tripped backward into the bed and slammed my elbow on the frame as I fell. I cradled my throbbing arm and blinked away a few tears. My heart seemed about to beat out of my chest. In the meanwhile, 11 made herself comfortable and sat on the edge of the bed, gazing down at me on the floor. Tat. What was the judge of these tests here for? What? You can find me, but I can't find you. At that, I let out a sigh of relief. My heart rate slowly returned to normal, and a feeling of exhaustion. I wonder like how this is pronounced. Exhaustion probably washed over my shoulders. I stood up and sat down on the bed next to her, incredibly tempted to flop on my back right now. I restrained myself to keep a tiny bit of dignity. I'm just surprised. Welcome to my humble temporary abode. Thank you for the welcome. I admit, I am rather pleased to see that you are still surviving. Oh, so am I. You are the promising of this batch. In what way? Secret. She danced around the answer with a pretty smile. Perhaps you'll learn my reasoning with time. For now, accompany me for a little nighttime chat, won't you? Sure. I don't have any topics in particular, so you'll have to entertain me. Although As you may have seen, the servants here are rather dull. But depends like what is dull like. I guess like what they did in the next room was pretty sharp. Would you like to become my servant? You get out of the game of life without losing nor winning, neither being eaten nor gaining reincarnation of life. But I would say that I do treat my lessers quite well. Okay, well that's an offer. I, on the other hand, would gain a slightly more capable, if not at least interesting, aid. I shook my head. No thank you. Helen didn't appear upset by my refusal but tilted her head, prompting me to elaborate. I want to go back to life, so I can't give up on the game of life just yet. And I have no intention of being anyone's servant. I would rather be your equal. But that's fair enough, I guess. Like I'm sure like there are people who are into this servant thing too. Equals. What a naive concept. I don't believe that two people can ever be equals. Not in life, not in this court. More like it depends. Like how equal is enough equal. But I guess like two people are always like different, so in like some way you'll always be like unequal, but hopefully it's like on average you're equal. Like one might be really good at, I don't know, like sports, one might be really good at like sitting inside and doing creative things. Like when you go like run, like you are not equals, but doesn't matter necessarily, I guess. For one, I am a judge and you are a player. But are you talking to me as a judge or just as a friend looking to chat a little right now? Odysseus of you to call me a friend. Hierarchy has been written into the laws governing society since the very start. Actually, like there are suggestions that like really far back, like in the history, like things were actually like more equal. Like men and women would like participate to the same activities and stuff. And like, I guess like mostly it was the Bronze Age that changed things. Like around then. It depends like how far back in the history you want to go. Or like history is like colored by like whoever like made like interpretations about it. Like for the longest time, like the assumptions that men were like superior, like always, like that, well, that just followed from what we had back when the findings were made. For example, a woman was born to obey her father and then her husband. She would bear him a son to be his heir, who will hopefully sow her filial piety, but ultimately controls her fate should he accept the destruction of his reputation. A woman is concubine. Then she should also obey the main wife. Just happens that many concubines have greedy hearts that covet the position of main wife. Whether a common woman or the noblest imperial concubine, they are all bound by these rules. Sounds like pretty like old school rules. An unexpected tone of resignation leaked through from her voice. I couldn't quite pinpoint what era she was speaking of. Probably not like at least modern China, but even like then. From what I understand, like China isn't like exactly like equality in terms of gender, like the political party, for example, it's like nowhere near 50-50. From what I understand. Not that it is like exactly 50-50 here, but it's closer at least. Also like depends on like the party. We have multiple parties, like some parties like how difficult the like attracting like male candidates, because so men on average like seem to hate like, well, nature and stuff more, I guess, in a way. Like the green party. But the thing is, that's wrong, isn't it? Something in her expression shifted. I don't know if the phrase women hold up half the sky made its way down here. However, modern society is at least a lot better than back then in acknowledging and working toward gender equality. At the very least, taking of concubines has been outlawed in China for over half a century. Like, I don't know like what concubine like exactly like translates to, but I guess like it's basically like multiple wives. Based on these talks. Like nothing wrong with that if everybody is okay with the like arrangement. It's basically poly in a way, I guess, but if everybody isn't okay, then it's kinda yikesy. It seems that many of you players still practice favoring boys over girls. Like in what sense? Like in a romantic sense, like well, there isn't like much you can really do about it. The society is wrong to you. Are we not the ones who are wrong? Or can we really say everyone else is wrong? In this case, I do think that the world is wrong. People who are cruel to their daughters for the sake of their sons are really just scumbags. Or it's that kind of thing. Like it's not like a big thing here exactly. I guess like sons and daughters get treated like a little differently, but not necessarily too much. At least like when I was a kid, like in our family, it was pretty samey, I guess. The obsession with passing down the bloodline through the male offspring doesn't even match up with the science. Yeah, like the unlike the female like genes, like more like longer lasting anyway, like in the family tree basically, like those are used for like more for tracking down like what the bloodline is. because it's easier. Go on. Both parents' genes contribute to the child's genes. Humans have yet to figure out asexual reproduction, but that's true too. There's even a major section of DNA called the mitochondrial DNA that is predominantly passed down by the mother. Yeah, that thing. Exactly that thing. Like, well, because it's like beyond my ability to explain it, but basically this part of the DNA will like keep passing on, more or less. Even looked at me like I grew another head. I see. Like, does he even know like what DNA is? Maybe she has heard it from the contestants sometime back. But I think like DNA is like relatively like new invention. It is like 100+ years from the past. I'm pretty sure DNA wasn't a thing. Like bacteria was like kinda known phenomenon, but among the like educated people, but beyond that, I don't think so. At the very least, I think it's wrong to condemn a person's entire life to being a puppet for people who treat her as lesser, even if we are not friends. I would like to see this world you envision. As for being friends, people really are dirty, but I find you rather pleasant, albeit hard to understand at times. That is why I will give you another warning. Humans are those who deserve power over others, regardless of the logic or science behind their actions. Cruelty will only be judged by the victor. Those that mimic humans will behave in the same way. The sinners taking part in the game of life are indeed sinners. Take that into consideration and do not trust them. Like Yangsu wasn't like nasty though. Although we know like that the other contestants are kinda problematic. I remember to not open the door at night. You did well earlier tonight. Yeah, because we knew. Dylan stood up from the bed. Good night. Good night. He smiled at me, my heart skipped a beat. Stepping in the shadow, 11 disappeared from my sight. I turned off the lights and went to bed. Closing my eyes, I fell into a dreamless sleep. Daylight came in an instant. The morning was spent searching for the key without results. Noon came and let me hydrate, I guess. My sleep schedule is still like all up, well, now all upside down for a change. So I woke up like 2 hours before the stream or something like that. The morning was spent searching for the key without results. Noon came and passed. Yangsu and I scouted out the mansion in the places we had yet to touch. As I ran my hand along a wall, hoping to feel the key under the wallpaper, something shifted beneath my feet and paw. This feels like pretty same. Can't I skip it? Well, I guess I can. Let's save it here, just because. Now we know that it is location. Location. It seemed that animals used to refer to directions on a compass. Ancient people certainly used animals for all sorts of things. A voice in my head spoke. The direction of the dragon and the direction of the snake were both located in the southeast. If that were the case, then we had to focus on the southeast. Yet we had already searched there plenty, so it seemed hard to imagine where else we had failed to search. My thoughts ended. Suddenly I was snapped back to reality by someone shaking my shoulder, and that someone's familiar voice. I guess we can skip again. So now it's like the second night, I guess. Now we are in the same room. Glanced at Yangsu. Looks like we'll have to share a bed tonight. As long as they can't open locked doors. A lot of knocking. At once did the monster seem to touch the handle or try to open the door. I wondered if the monsters had to follow rules for the game as well. Okay, well, I guess it's the same, more or less. This was right last time, I guess. Like, most likely the interesting stuff, I guess, happens after the trials. Could happen here too. I'll see you later. Giving Yangsu a pat on the shoulder, see you later, I walked up to the head of the long table and took a seat next to Eleven, who shot me a confused, dirty look. The king seemed to laugh. Her mismatched eyes landed on me and narrowed, piercing through to my soul. I averted my eyes from the king. Now then, all who have but one round left. Then you will win the right to be judged and perhaps even rewarded. I'm a just and righteous king, so you may also treat this as an intermediate prize. Start the feast. The king clapped her hands once. Servants placed a myriad of dishes on the table. It appeared that the feast would be self-served. I looked at the dish of meat, which, while glistening with delicious-looking sauces, appeared quite odd. It didn't resemble pork or chicken. As the other survivors dug into the food, I reached out toward the odd meat dish but paused to glance toward Eleven, who had not touched any of the meat. That. Now because it is like scary meat. Question mark. That is human meat. Well, I guessed it last time already. I quickly retracted my hand. Eleven reached out to another dish to take a pastry into her plate and casually bit into it. Eat pastries instead. I glanced at the pastries not knowing what unnatural feeling might have been hiding within the golden, flaky exterior. The fruits are surely fine at least. I'm rather puzzled to mung bean pastries. Even gestured to the plate she just took from. I couldn't say that I trusted her, but I also wouldn't say that I distrusted her. Thus I reached out to take one of the supposed mung bean pastries as well. At least like if it's not like a plain human at least. Holding it in my hands, I nibbled on it. My first tiny bite didn't hit any filling, but the flaky exterior was mildly sweet and well made already. Feeling courageous, I took a longer bite. It's good. Like Levan said, it was a mung bean pastry. Not too sweet, but not at all bland. I savored the taste as I chewed. I wondered how long had passed since the last time I was able to slowly enjoy a snack. Yes, it is. The sweet pastry healed my heart. What are the others? I pointed to the left. Sesame filling. I pointed to the right. Red bean filling. Red bean is nice at least. Sweets sure are nice. They are. What about those? I pointed to this that she hadn't covered. Those are moon cakes. Taking a closer look, I realized that the moon cakes looked like Shanghai-style moon cakes. The Mid-Autumn Festival is happening soon, huh? I prefer the Guangdong-style ones. Specifically, it has to be a lotus paste filling with 2 yolks. I like red bean normally, but if we are talking about mooncakes, it has to be a lotus paste filling. I'm not a fan of that sort of yolk, admittedly. We can't be friends anymore. The yolk is my favorite salty thing. That's alright. When were we ever friends? You just gave me critical damage. Yes. Now I know that you know how to enjoy your food. Ilvan placed some vegetables onto her plate and proceeded to nibble on the leafy greens. Following her, I also filled my plate with a few items non-meat. Are you a vegetarian? No, but it is like really viable route in this kind of place, I guess, given what they are serving as meat. I see. Maybe I had too much meat these days, or maybe I'm simply getting old, liking sweets, being unable to stand too much meat and salt. She let out a sigh. I tried to imagine her as an old matriarch from a television drama, holding those Buddhist beads and wearing simple clothing as her theoretical grandson succeeded the family title. For some reason, the theoretical grandson looked older than her in my mind's eye. I don't know how old I am. Oh yes. I'm sure it works a little differently in the afterlife. You're plenty younger as far as I'm concerned. Go on, Fedes. You seem rather friendly with my woman. The king interrupted our conversation, turning their ice cold. That. As a reward, I will have a bit of something special served to you. The king gestured. The servant who walked up and placed a piece of special meat onto my plate. I looked at the meat and then at the king. Eat it. Picking up a utensil, I hesitated. The meat seemed to writhe, leaking black and red. It called to me that it was delicious, yet my heart screamed at me not to touch it. The king did not look away from me. I had no choice but to eat it. Before I could pick up the meat, Eleven snatched it off of my plate and placed it into her mouth. Crunch. She chewed and made a face. Crunch, crunch. Yet she did not spit it out and instead swallowed, wiping her mouth once she was done. My, what brought this on? This meat was my lord's favor. How could I let a mere human have it? You should blame me for being a jealous woman. Ha 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 ha. What a thing for you to say, but you have certainly satisfied me for now. I'll let you play with your little friend for a while longer. We have eternity to spend together after all. Yes, that we do. Although after that exchange, the king held to her word and did not interrupt us again, the mood had chilled. And the king is jealous too, I guess. The feast continued for a while longer. Then the low bell tolled, signaling the end of our time in this round. Oh, it's skip time now. Let's save just in case. But usually 11, so we'll do this. I walked over to the front door and opened it. The scenery had not changed from before. Pitch black, a monstrous darkness that threatened to spill into my apartment and devour me. I had a feeling that girl would slam. Immediately closing the door, 11 appeared beside me and kicked me in the shin. Question marks. What are you trying to do? As I lifted my leg to rub the place she kicked me, I couldn't help but grin. Would you like to stay for some snacks? I walked her over to the kitchen dining area and began digging through the snack cabinet, filled with sweets and miscellaneous items, dumping them onto the table. That would be alright with me. As I gathered my collection of snacks, she picked up a random wrapped candy and unwrapped it. What is this? Coffee candy. She popped the candy in her mouth. It's bitter. Oh, but there's sweet cream inside. Crunch. She made a face at the sensation of chewing past the hard candy shell, but it seemed she didn't quite like the cream. For refreshments, I think today feels like time for some cold drinks, especially after the feast. Have some sweetened soy milk in the fridge, if that's alright. Yes, that would be fine. I wonder like how old an invention soy milk is. It could be old. I think like in some regions here, like they did like do like fancy things with oat basically. Kinda like, not exactly oat yogurt, but kinda like that. Kind of dessert. And like Asia's big on soy, I guess. So it could be like an old invention. Walking over to the fridge, I retrieved 2 cans of soy milk and passed one to 11. He seemed to struggle to open the can via the tap. But before I could offer to help, she managed to open it and took a sip. Although it lacks fragrance, the sweet taste goes smoothly down my throat and washes away the coffee flavor. Rest in peace, coffee candy. What's the next game? If you think bribing me with food and asking casually will get you answers, I'm afraid it won't work. Wait for the 3rd round to begin, and you will be informed of the rules. Oh, it was worth a try. Just a try. I tore open a pack of spicy strips and grabbed a pair of disposable chopsticks that had gotten mixed in with my stash. I used the chopsticks to pick up the spicy strips to eat. 11 sent me a curious look. I offered with my chopsticks a strip containing a clover. Yet not wanting to get her hands dirty with a little pink rising to her ears, she opened her mouth and ultimately let me feed her a spicy strip. She chewed and nodded in approval. There's a trial in court after finishing the 3 rounds, right? What happens to people who lose then? You will become a meal for vengeful ghosts. The result is the same regardless of who you are in the game of life, until you have gained the qualifications for reincarnation. Then she paused for a moment. That said, should you catch the eye of the king of the 11th court, you may remove yourself from the game of life. Rather than winning or losing, you would become a denizen of the 11th court serving under the king. I do not recommend it. Why? Are you contemplating it? Probably 11 is better than the king at least. You want to serve under somebody? I contemplated it. To stay in the underworld, accompanying the beautiful, terrifying king, along with the monstrous ghosts, was not something I wanted. Perhaps the only one who seemed like a person at all here was 11. If she could just go to the real world instead, then that would be better. I shook my head. I want to go back to life. Then do not think more of it and avoid the king's attention. 11 glanced around, Perhaps finding the apartment too big for just one person. Do you have a family? Family. Your question prodded at an old sadness that felt like a wound, which had long scarred over. I don't have any immediate family. I guess I don't have any extended family left either, who I know of. I was mostly raised by my grandparents, who passed away 2 years ago. I don't think I have any other relatives. No, they were getting old. In the 90s, when they died. So it wasn't anything like a freak accident. They just got old, got frailer, and one day they didn't wake up again. Although it hurt, grandma died right after grandpa, leaving me all alone. My condolences. It's okay. I wonder if they have reincarnated already. I feel like the longer you live, like the more likely you are to be a sinner, right? That's how it should work. Very old people don't come to the 11th court. What was the reasoning again? They are not very palatable. So they are certainly under the jurisdiction of another court and will certainly be reincarnated with time if they haven't been already. Okay, so as long as you make it old, you can sin as much as you want or something. I tried to imagine my grandparents lining up to drink soup and I hear Brits, having their memories wiped away by Mengpo's magical liquid. I guess they'd forget me in their next lives. Yes, but the type of person someone is doesn't change very much. If they were kind people, then I'm sure they'll also be kind people in their next lives. If I went here, then perhaps I would have wanted to meet who raised you. But it's best if they never had to come to the 11th court, regardless of lifetime. 11 sipped her soy milk. What happened with your parents? My parents died when I was young. Apparently, we were going on a trip to Jingju when the car was hit by a speeding drunk driver. They died protecting me. That's what I have always been told, at least. I don't have any scars from that, and my grandparents said that I was uninjured after the accident. I don't know. I was too young to even remember their faces, and I don't remember the accident. Might be for the best though. As I grew up, I felt sorry. I felt sorry because to me, people who my grandparents mourned over, people who protect me, were nothing more than dead strangers to me. Although it was nice to grow up knowing that I was loved by the people who gave me life and gave their lives for me. Perhaps I should be a little jealous that you have such a family. Yet all my family was dead. I really don't have any family left. I'm even just a lonely single dog now. if you consider only the living and not your memories. I was also dead. Eleven's words reminded me that even if my grandparents were gone, the memories lived on within me. What about you? I guess most likely no, the king was fond of her. And that's why she's here. But that would mean that she's a sinner too. Now that I have spilled my guts, shouldn't you also tell me a little something about your family? Only one of us is a judge. Do I look like I have a family? Those people are... No. Shook her head. The last round is coming. I will see you again if you survive through it. Then she turned and left, disappearing as if she had never come to my apartment in this dreamlike interval between games. Nope. So far, it's very same, so something must happen after the trials then. I guess we can't really skip yet. What was the previous line? He's probably still kinda the same. Darkness enveloped me, devouring the ground beneath me, covering my vision. Waiting for the scenery to change, I closed my eyes. I seemed to hear the hiss of a snake and the flow of a river. Oh, this is different, I guess. Yeah, this is different. Like last time it was the fire. Now it's snakes. Yep, it's definitely different. Oh. Accidentally hit the shoulder button. When I opened my eyes, feeling the ground solidify under my feet, I found myself in a place place stranger than the previous two games' location. But this is definitely different. Glass walls surrounded me in all four directions. Beyond the glass walls stood more glass walls, forming a matrix of glass boxes. The walls extended just too high to be climbed, capped at the top by a similarly glass ceiling. Even the ground appeared to be lined by a layer of glass. Within each glass box stood one survivor, arriving at the third round just like me, in some sort of podium. As everyone arrived, Eleven's voice came from the sky as usual. I guess like last time. Like the main character skipped this by having back flashes. Could be entirely different too, I don't know how this is related exactly to the trial on the other round, or the other route. Welcome to the third and final round of your trial. I will now explain the rules. The third round is an individual game. Each player will stay within their own box. Within their box will be a podium containing puzzles that must be solved in order. Solve all 9 puzzles before you drown. Your time limit is dependent on your sins. Well, I hope we didn't sin more than that one time. But this is very different, like in the other route. In the other route it was more cooperative, I guess. In a way and in a way not. I glanced to the middle of my glass box at the mentioned podium, spotting a puzzle sitting there. The ground was still dry. The game was specially bestowed upon you by the king of the 11th court. I am truly overjoyed. I guess like the king changed the trials because we added too much to 11. Good luck. The moment she finished speaking, water began to trickle into my box from an unknown source, creating a puddle-like wet film beneath my shoes. I looked around, spotting Yangsu in a neighboring box. Then I approached the glass adjacent to her box. Yangsu seemed to have the same idea, as she too stood before the same glass wall. Stand back a little. Yangsu smacked the glass wall, but nothing happened. Let me try from my end. As Yangsu stood back, I sent a roundhouse kick at the glass. Like why though, just solve the puzzles. Can't be that hard. My foot bounced off the wall, sending me stumbling, leaving nothing but a bit of water from the ground on the glass. Dot. I don't think we'll be able to get past the glass. She did say it's an individual game, didn't she? I glanced beyond the glass over at the podium in Yangsu's box, finding that even the shape of her puzzle appeared a little different from what was on my podium. Adjusting my stance, I felt my feet pushed against the wall, splish. Maybe it had already risen to 2 centimeters. The foot is already rising, let's focus on our puzzles for now, alright. She nodded. I believe in you, Hailu. I believe in you too. Walking to my podium, I looked at the puzzle that sat on top of it. It was a metal puzzle made of many pieces that had to be put together, rotated and adjusted to fit together. I held it in my hand and began to fiddle with it, trying to figure out how to solve it, having received no instructions beyond just to solve it. I guess this would be easy if you had done like a lot of puzzles in real life. Water began to seep into my shoes, soaking my socks uncomfortably. As I racked my brain, pushing pieces together, the water did not stop, gradually increasing as it rose. Click, I solved the first puzzle. The initial puzzle disappeared, and in its place came a similar but wholly different puzzle. The water level dropped along with the first disappearance. I let out a slight sigh of relief at the game's kindness. Yeah, like it's not like a Team Cherry game, I guess. My pants, wet by the now lowering water, stuck to my lower leg. The trickling sound of water conveyed to me that just one puzzle wasn't enough to stop the flow. The water rose, click, the water fell. Despite having been able to solve 2 puzzles, I wasn't able to prevent the water from gradually going upward, soaking above my knees. I glanced over at some other survivors' boxes, noticing that their water level had reached far above mine and appeared to be increasing at different speeds. Few players gave up on puzzle solving. Let me drink more. Just a quick sip. And chose to instead throw their puzzles at the glass, smacking the walls in an attempt to get out. Like some of the contestants honestly seemed like pretty small brain in the previous route. Click, click, click. The water undulated, my clothes stuck to my skin, wet. My hands couldn't help but grow stiff as they forced cold, hard metal pieces together. I could feel my body temperature dropping as I began to shiver. The water wasn't warmed like a swimming pool. As I began to slow, I nicked my hand against a particularly sharp piece. The water stirred as a single droplet of red fell in, mixing and dispersing. I shook my head. I had to focus. Click. Luckily, I was able to get my 6th puzzle to click into place with my slightly numb fingers. Hearing the satisfying click and feeling the water low. I guess like it's like 11 or something would make sense. I took a deep breath before readying myself for the next puzzle of many. Bam! I jumped in surprise as a loud noise came from the back. I glanced backward and saw my neighbor in that direction, smashing himself full body against the wall, trying desperately to get out as the water reached right below his nose. And you can still like swim and solve the puzzles, I think. He was going to drown. As I met his eyes, I saw the water reach above his nose at standing height, and him trying to tread water, weighed down by his clothes. I turned back to my puzzle, averting my eyes from his look of despair. The noise was distracting. I had to focus. Eventually, the noise from the back weakened and stopped. Click. I didn't know how long had passed since the game had started, each puzzle taking a non-trivial amount of time to finish. Certainly, it must have been at least 2 or 3 hours now. Okay, that's pretty long actually. Imagine if they had given you like a Rubik's Cube or something, and and you like how to solve it, like you were like one of the masters who solve it in seconds. It's like impossible to solve if you don't know the strat. Like I was able to solve it like the 2 top layers of the like 3x3 one. But never bothered to learn the bottom. I think the bottom was like all the sequences were like 10 plus moves or something. I adjusted my standing position. My legs were growing sore, becoming stiffer from the water and all of the standing. I cracked my neck, gazing upward for a second, to relieve my neck of the stress of looking down for so long, yet I had no time to waste. Splish splash, the water rippled as I moved. I glanced toward Yangsu, who seemed to be doing alright, water at her waist. Then I returned to my puzzle. Water reached my chest, encroaching on the podium's height. Frustratingly, I couldn't get this puzzle to work even as I nearly jammed my finger, trying to piece it together. The water reached my chin, forcing me to lift the puzzle above the water. As I adjusted the height of my vision, I inadvertently looked to the box in front of me, a dead person. The person in the box in front of me was floating, his body floating face down in a box so full of water that his corpse was being pushed against the ceiling. As my hand shook and nearly dropped the puzzle pieces I held, he began to sink. Click. The shock of seeing a corpse actually helped me solve that puzzle. Not sure if that's a good strat, but sure. What the heck? I almost wanted to laugh as I felt the water level drop back down to my waist, leaving all of my clothes uncomfortably wet, but myself able to breathe. I didn't dare to look toward my last neighbor who had been hitting the wall as well, but no longer made any noise. The water reached, lapping upward at my torso as if disappointed. The last puzzle appeared before me, and without pausing, I grabbed it to begin piecing it together. The configuration appeared even more complex than the previous 8. My fingers hurt, my arms couldn't stop shivering. Hearing Yangsu's voice, I immediately twisted to look in her direction, scared that she would also be drowning. Then I saw that the water level in her box was even a little below her waist. Congratulations to the first person to complete all 9 puzzles. You have passed the 3rd round, but she was always the big brain, so it makes sense. A sense of relief rushed over my body. I'm glad. Behind Yangsu could do or say anything, an unknown force whisked her away and emptied her box. I turned my attention back to my final puzzle. I had to focus. My stiff fingers fiddled with this final puzzle, slowly but surely connecting the pieces and pushing them into the correct place, but many moments of trial and error. The water once more reached my chin. As part of the puzzle, I fixed it to the podium. Now I had one last piece that I needed to connect to the puzzle, which I felt that I knew how to complete. Yet I could no longer pick the puzzle up and had to look through the distortion of the water. It was just one piece. I expected a satisfying click, yet the budding sense of victory in my chest gradually turned to anxiety as the puzzle's final piece just wouldn't fit into place. Why was it not fitting? Was I trying to put it into the wrong place? The last piece seemed to obviously fit into the last hole left, but it wasn't fitting. It wasn't clicking into place, even as I ducked my head under the water to examine it more closely. Why wasn't it clicking into place? The water reached my nose. The puzzle wasn't clicking. Why? The water reached above my nose. I pulled myself off the ground and began treading water, keeping my head above the water. Holding the last piece in my hand, I took a deep breath and dived. Why wasn't the puzzle piece fitting into the only place left to put it? I went up for air and tried again to no avail. I repeated those steps a number of times. Yet no matter what I did, no matter where I tried to insert the final piece, it seemed like an invisible force was blocking me. Then, as I went up for air for the 9th time, I hit the ceiling. The glass box was filled with water already. I had no choice but to return to the podium. My lungs burned, my vision flickered. Gripping the puzzle on the podium and forcing the final piece into its hole, I wanted to cry, but there was too much water around to cry. The strength left me to cold air, cold and lack of oxygen overwhelming me. I wondered if this was it. An unknown warmth, perhaps a hallucination, seemed to touch my hand. Click. The water above lowered, yet was far too high for me at this moment to be able to swim up to it. I was too tired. As black spots started to fill my vision, the water surface growing further as I sank. I heard Eleven's muffled voice making an announcement for me. Darkness covered my sight. The pressure of water seemed to disappear from around me. I felt a pair of soft lips press against mine to pass air to my empty lungs. My consciousness faded. Oh, that was a close call, I guess. I saw a dream. In this dream, I walked into a lonely courtyard, place that looked like the set of a historical drama that Yangsu liked. I spotted a girl whose face I could not make out. She appeared familiar, but even when I squinted, her facial features remained unclear. As I approached the door to the living space, the girl spoke and stopped me in my tracks. Who are you? Her voice sounded familiar, yet I could not remember who she was. Not speaking. Are you a servant sent by that woman, my stepmother? Oh no, she likes to be called Madame. By your servants, doesn't she? To scare me or ruin me? No, I'm not a servant, I stopped, realizing I didn't know how to explain myself. Surely my name wouldn't be useful information. I adopted that I had traveled through time in this dream. What are you going to say? that you're a mirror grinder flower thief who does the stealing during broad daylight? Rather, I might be a ghost. Think of a better excuse. Is that how ghosts dress? Looking down at my outfit, I realized that I was still wearing normal, modern clothes. A shirt, jacket, jeans, sneakers. Certainly, I didn't look like a ghost. I was kinda like wondering if this game basically revolves around like the spirits like reincarnating. Like if this was like they knew each other in like previous lives basically, but I guess not. Then I'm a ghost from the future. At the very least, I will concede that you might not be one of that woman's people, but you have no excuse for trespassing. Actually, who are you and where am I? Question mark. Then spoke slowly as if I were a fool. This is a courtyard of the Margit's Pingan residence. I'm the firstborn legal granddaughter, Margit's Pingan. Or you may say that I am the daughter of Sir Xiao, who executed his first wife 2 years ago. Her voice twisted at mention of Sir Xiao. Her father, a man who married a stepmother who would harass his daughter, and a man who killed his wife, he seemed unpleasant. Oh, that sounds very unpleasant for sure. Sounds pretty toxic. She mentioned those names as if I was supposed to know who they were. This Sir Xiao, was his first wife your mother? The question slipped from my lips if I realized how inappropriate it was to ask a stranger about their dead parent within minutes of meeting her. Do you not know our family history? Or is this another form of harassment to have me talk about it? No, I'm sorry. You don't need to talk about it if you don't want to. She paused. I see. You might as well hear the true version of the story rather than all the lies that have been spread. My mother was indeed the first wife of Sir Xiao, a talented woman whose greatest flaw was loving a man like him. She was unable to bear him, a male heir, and disliked his concubines, many of which he took in during her pregnancy with me and her miscarriage that could have been my brother. My father intended to divorce my mother for those 2 points, and despite her pride, accepted the shame. However, my father's favorite concubine, that woman, she couldn't even bear to see my mother alive. That woman planted items associated with witchcraft in my mother's room and had my mother accused of witchcraft in front of guests. Witchcraft. A crime worthy of death penalty, but it was fake. Was this actually like a thing in China? I guess it was a thing in West too. I guess no matter where it was, it's really shaky. I guess in the medieval Europe, I don't think they exactly had good codified laws anyway. It was pretty random. No idea how unified China was in the past either though. I guess it could have been similar. In the first place, witchcraft is just feudal superstition, but why? You must be a foreigner. Witchcraft was outlawed in a decree by the previous emperor. No one is free from punishment should they be caught doing it. I guess if there was an emperor then yeah. Kind of wild though, thinking about this through the modern lens. Imagine now codifying witchcraft is illegal. Sadly, I could see the US doing something like that at this point. It wouldn't surprise me. Given an imperial concubine was executed 5 years ago for witchcraft. The rest of the story Everyone knows. My mother was executed. My father never once trying to save her. Ha 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 ha. His shoulders shook with an emotion that wasn't mirth. Then he elevated his favorite concubine to the position of main wife, not 2 months after my mother's death. Well, like theoretically speaking, like what can you do, like if it wasn't like planned? Like I'm not sure like if it's like fair to say that the guy is at wrong here, like maybe if he knew that this was happening. As well, like the second, well, the first favorite non-main wife seems like more evil here. That woman who killed my mother. Well, we'll see if she can bear him his desired heir. His backyard is far too messy, and there's a reason why there's been no movement in anyone's stomach for years now. Ah, that's karma for you. It is surprisingly refreshing to say all of these things alone. I don't even have a trusted maidservant who I can say those things to. I suppose I'm taking a risk by speaking to a stranger, a person who calls herself a ghost. I can at least promise that I won't tell anyone what you have told me. Even though I couldn't see her face, she seemed terribly lonely. But are you okay? Question mark. She didn't have anyone, to the point that when someone came to her courtyard, she assumed that it must have been an enemy sent by those who called themselves her family. In fact, if I had been malicious, it wouldn't seem like anyone would have stopped me. She had no family and no one to accompany her. Because that means you're alone here. So I am. What do you want to do? What do I want to do? Ha 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 ha. Is there anything I can do? If I could even just poison that woman, then I would be satisfied. But where can I get my hands on poison as the boy girl? Like it is revenge, but like what does it help at this point though? Like I at least like I wouldn't do it. I don't see what use there is. Like it will get you in trouble anyway. On top of that, but revenge won't like bring anything back anyway. Poison, huh? I don't know if you have any poisonous flowers growing here, but sufficient amounts of nutmeg can kill an adult. Are apples a thing already? Apple seeds also hold some poison, but it would be hard to get someone to eat enough to be fatal, maybe mixed into something. Or like do like apple seeds have that much poison though? Like how many like apples would you have to destroy to get enough poison? That's good to know. Why is the main character like giving out like poison lore anyway? Like it's kind of a form of helping, but I don't think it's a form of helping in reality. Maybe you also need to be careful about her poisoning you. I appreciate the concern, stranger. If I were a son, then certainly that woman would have already tried to have me killed. As a girl, the worst that she'll try is to ruin my reputation and marry me off to an old ledger. All that he is come, my father would be upset if the asset that he had raised for so many years was ruined when he could have instead used me for benefit. He likely prefers to keep his only daughter out of sight and out of mind until he finds the right person to make a marriage alliance with. What a chauvinistic scumbag. Yes, he is. I contemplated aloud. I wonder if finding someone to elope with would be hard. With whom would I elope? She got close to me and whispered into me, her breath tickling against my cheek. For some reason, I noticed that she smelled nice. I'll let you in on a secret. I only like women. In other words, people would call me a mirror grinder. Oh, that's what it means, I guess. I guess it makes sense, but it's like I can see where the words come from. She returned to our initial distance and laughed. That woman would certainly love to hear this. Even if there was a decent man willing to elope with a marquis' granddaughter, I wouldn't be interested. Let me hydrate. I have a few female friends that don't know anyone who would elope with me. Would I elope with you? I'm a good comrade too. I also like women. But it's impossible because I'm not from this time and I'm dead. For now. I'll keep your secret though. What a shame. You seem like someone I could get along with, given time. Well, if I weren't dead, then I wouldn't have minded trying. We chatted a little longer. Then my body flickered, becoming partially see-through. Huh. So you are, in fact, a ghost. He reached out a hand and touched mine, not passing through me as I expected. Instead of retracting her hand, she held mine and ran her fingers along my palm. Her touch tickled. Is it cold to be dead? No, not really. But you're warm. I see. I flickered again. It looks like I have to go now. My body grew more and more transparent, a tugging sensation at the edge of my mind trying to pull me out of this courtyard. Goodbye. Don't get yourself executed for witchcraft, and maybe we'll meet again one day. Yeah, maybe we'll meet again one day. Maybe it's more likely than you think. The dream ended. groggily opened my eyes, nearly toppling over as I regained consciousness. My clothes had dried from when I nearly drowned, and I was sitting in a chair. The chair from the moment I first met 11 in that same dark place. 11 stood before me, evoking a strange feeling of familiarity within my chest. Congratulations on passing all 3 trials. You will soon be judged before the 11th court to determine your final fate. However, as you have obtained the ire of the king, you will likely be judged unfavorably. Is the king the one who makes the final judgment? In theory no, but in essence yes. The 11th court is ruled by the king of the 11th court, and despite its name, it is outside of the 10 courts of hell. I stood up. Wait. Even if you say that it's outside of the 10 courts, I don't know what you're trying to imply. There are too many interpretations of the afterlife. For example, the number of courts often changes between 18 and 10, depending on which reading someone is using. Furrowed my brows. The 10 courts are the true authority of hell, in charge of punishment and reincarnation of the dead. The 10 courts would never allow a dead person to undo their death. Okay, so that's why 11th, I guess, to bypass that limitation. While the 11th court has the power to do it, should you expect justice, then you would be sorely disappointed. It has simply gone unnoticed thus far that the 11th court is doing what it is. There is a set of drums before the 10 courts that require extreme conviction of will to use. They are the drums to petition the King of Hell, King Yanlu, to take attention to injustice in their realm. Once the drums are sounded, the 10 courts are obligated to act. Okay, I see, so we have a mission to become a drummer. Why tell me this? Paused and gazed at me. I am at least a little fond of you, and I have someone who I am very much not fond of. If you can pass the court's judgment and return to your life in the realm of living, then I will be happy for you. However, should you be devoured by the 11th court, then your soul will cease to exist. In that case, reincarnation would be kinder, even if it means that I would forget you. How would you want to remember me? 11, you're worth remembering. 11. Somehow I seemed a little silly saying such things about remembering her when I still didn't know her name. It's a nickname since I don't know your name. You're the judge of the 11th court, so 11. I see, my name is not 11, but you are welcome to refer to me as such when speaking to others. What is your name then? That's a secret. I don't think she told it in the dream either. Or did she? I'm such a bird brain that I don't remember if she did. I don't know if there's any harm. Or any harm telling anyway. Speaking of names, I realized that I had never told her mine. I'd probably introduce myself to you. My name is Quan Hailu. Quan like 1000, Hai like the sea, and Lu like dew. I traced my fingers through the air, writing out the strokes of my name. It let out a soft laugh. I already knew your name. Quan Hailu, it's a pretty name for a beautiful person. My heart for some reason skipped a beat. I felt a little heat pull to my cheeks. Then the low bell tolled. The scenery around me shifted. The darkness receded to reveal an open courtroom. In the moment I blinked my eyes in surprise, 11 disappeared from before me. She reappeared, stepping up to the judge's table in the front and taking a seat. I looked around, finding ghastly spectators lingering in the shadow. Looking upward, I saw a second-floor balcony. Above the judge's table, the king sat upon a throne. The king overlooked us with shadowy advisors, standing silently as they flanked her. Yang Su then appeared beside me, stumbling as if she too was pulled from another location. Hailu. Yeah, I think this is it. Watching the two of us with hungry eyes, the ghost murmured, and we were silenced as 11 slammed a rectangular wooden slab. The gavel to the table, signaling the start of court. Defendants, welcome to the 11th court. Congratulations on passing all 3 rounds of the game of life. The ghost laughed. It's here that your actions through your trials will be used to re-evaluate your status. Summarize the 3 trials, which still felt far too unreal. Rush down a mountain at night, search for a key within a mansion, and a box where I nearly drowned. Then, pulling out a book, she began to note our actions. While not every moment was recorded, I felt a chill down my spine hearing the recollection of those terrible games and realizing how much the king's ghosts had been surveilling us. As noted, both players passed the 3 trials without issue, including the final decided by our king. Elon met my eyes and gave me a slight nod. It was going to be okay. Surely not. Surely we'll have to become like a servant and then go like bang the drums. As judge of the 11th court, I declare Quan Hailu and Yang Su not guilty. They have been judged to be guilty. The king stood from her throne. The air froze and 11 paid. The king sent 11 a sharp look and snapped her fingers, dismissing the illusion of a courtroom to leave only a dark hellscape. I could barely breathe as the king exerted power, which I could almost see emanating from her body. Yang Su did not seem to be in a better state. Before we could react, a number of ghosts surrounded us and grabbed our limbs, holding us in place. The king descended from the balcony and walked toward 11. Smack! The king slapped 11, leaving an ugly red mark on her face. Yet 11 did not fight back and simply stood in place. My sacrificial wife, I wonder why it is that you think you can disobey my intentions for this pair of humans. I tried to speak up, but my body was frozen, my tongue was frozen, I couldn't move. Now feels pretty like a bad ending kind of vibe. The king roughly grabbed 11's chin, fingers sticking into 11's face. Your father married you to me, throwing you to the bottom of my river, baked down by stones. Oh, that's yikesy too. I thought that you were beautiful when you drowned, so I took you in as my first wife. The fondness of you, of all of the time we spent together, I have always kept you as my main wife, even bestowing upon you this position to play with in my court as my mouthpiece. King 11 refused to look at her. The king yanked 11's chin upward. Is this the gratitude you show me? The king turned in my direction, pulling 11 to also do so. The judge who has chosen to help you is nothing more than my woman. She and this entire court belong to me. Why is it that my woman likes to rebel so much? Although I do like them feisty, I thought that I had already broken you in. Is that the meat you have eaten was too unfresh, causing your sense to rot away as well? But the truth is that, being nice to women is the way to go, and that's why you're not doing well. Certainly, there's a meal to be had soon. While speaking of meal, the king's mismatched eyes roamed on Yangsu and me. I could almost hear the ghosts holding us salivating. Then the king looked at 11 again. But I will need to discipline you later. This was wrong. It was wrong. I couldn't understand why 11 would just take those words from the king. I couldn't accept the way that the king treated 11. If the king was going to have Yangsu and me eaten, then I wanted to at least give her a slap back. You. Words slipped past my frozen tongue. I coughed, feeling control returning to my body. However, when I tried to charge forward at the king, the ghosts held me firmly in place. The king glanced toward me for a second. Kneel. Then she exerted more power, forcing 11 down to her knees. Making a gesture at the king, but the ghost dragged me over and threw me to the ground. The ghost pulled me up just enough to force me to kneel before the king. The king stared into my eyes with her mismatched snake eyes, making my blood curdle. She was a predator. My instincts screamed at me. She was a monster. I already knew that. What did you do to make my woman so uninterested, to choose you in her little rebellion? A little ugly and deformed, certainly without any sense and not enough ability to even pass 3 trials without her help. I can't see why she would aim for your favor, you puny, insignificant worm. It may be that you're blind. I would have rather married someone like her instead of you. Before I could process 11's words, the king's armored boot smashed into my gut. She kicked me so hard that if it weren't for the ghosts holding me, I would have gone flying. Gah! My consciousness cut for a moment. My mouth filled with a metallic taste. A red spilled from my mouth. I heaved, trying to breathe through the pain. What was up? What was down? What just happened? I heard Yang Su scream, muted in my jumbled mind. Just for a second, I felt glad that I was already dead. I'm divorcing you. The low sound of drums echoed through this dark space. The sound and vibration shook me to my core, even as my vision was slowly clearing up. I knew what these drums were, even though I couldn't see them. 11 had done something to sound the drums of the 10 chords. Ha ha ha. I should have done this a long time ago. Ha 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 ha. You. Wah. Still so afraid of the 10 chords that you hide your pitiful little kingdom and its rotten court from. How you become so enamored with your fake. Bam. The king kicked 11, sending her flying across the ground. Then the king stormed up toward 11 and stomped on 11's chest. Gah. The king lowered herself into 11 and grabbed 11's neck. You foolish woman. Do you know what you have done? Do you know what you have done? When the 10 chords come down on us all, you will also be purged. Well, I don't know, it kind of feels better than being with you though. Despite all of that, 11 didn't apologize. Instead, she laughed. And wheezing love through her throat that was being held by the king's hands. Ha ha ha. Why would I not know? We can all be punished together. Punished together. No. I will be the one to devour you myself before those bastards can do anything. No matter what, you will be nothing but mine. King began to squeeze. Wah. Even though I knew that I was too weak to do anything, I struggled again against the ghosts holding me, trying to reach 11. 11 pushed away the king to no avail, twitching as he struggled to breathe. Her hands brushed against the ground as if she was searching for something, and as her struggles grew weaker and weaker, she managed to pull a scalpel out from the ground. Taking the scalpel into her hand, she stabbed the king. The king recoiled just for a second. Gah! That 1 second was enough for 11 to slip out from beneath the king and roll away, just out of the king's reach. As 11 struggled to her feet, the king made to grab 11 again. And then the sound of marching entered my ears. I felt the grip of the ghosts holding me loosen a little, the ghosts beginning to shudder and whisper amongst themselves. A white-haired, androgynous person walked into the scene with a group of soldiers marching behind them. King Yanlu. I am the king of hell, King Yanlu. Who is the petitioner who sounded the drums? 11 stood up straight, finding her balance, and saluted with her hands clasped together. I am. Greetings to King Yanlu. I am Xiao Yiwen, humble spirit who has sounded the drums of the 10 courts to petition for justice. That was how I learned her name, Xiao Yiwen. It was a pretty name, fitting her well. What is the crime that you have called upon the 10 courts for? I don't know, like attempted murder at least. Pointing at the king at 11th court, 11 began. Reporting the king Yanlo, I am here to accuse the snake demon and her court of not one but many crimes. She has attempted to usurp the power of the DU government and commit treason by creating an 11th court outside of the 10 courts to process the dead. She has been deliberately creating vengeful ghosts from the deceased by cruel machinations, tricking innocents into thinking that they are sinners. 11 gestured Jiangsu and me. She has also been stealing the data from the 10 courts, eating humans, and destroying stolen souls in doing so. This removes souls from the cycle of reincarnation and is against the balance of the world. King Yanlo nodded. I see. And I have no reason to allow you to continue. Giant snake, the king of the 11th court, transformed into a faint snake with the sound of a rushing torrent. I fell to the ground in shock as the grip of the ghosts holding onto me disappeared. The ones holding me were running away. Don't you run, you traitorous cowards. As I scrambled to my feet, I saw that the ones that had been holding on the Jiangsu similarly began to flee. The cowardly ghosts didn't make it very far before being swatted by the Snake King with a large tail and swallowed whole. King Yanlo pulled out their sword. The snake demon has committed crimes and will be subdued and slain if he does not stand down and accept judgment. The soldiers pulled out their swords. The remaining ghosts of the Snake King's side prepared themselves to fight as well. As both sides began to fight, Jiangsu ran up to me and gingerly examined my slightly bloodied shirt. Hello, are you alright? Although my torso still felt incredibly sore, I was still alive, and the adrenaline of the moment likely numbed the pain. I could be better, but I think I'm alright. Are you? Yeah. Clang. Before we could talk any further, a soldier rushed between us and a monster that we hadn't even noticed. He cut down the monster and without pausing, went to continue the fighting. Then a huge blade made of water rushed by us, on a meter away, splitting the soldier in half. I looked away, feeling a budding nausea rise up to mix with the blood in my mouth. We were sitting ducks here. I tugged Jiangsu, who couldn't tear her eyes away from what just happened. We are a bigger target if we are together, so let's split up and try to get out of the way. Jiangsu hesitated but eventually nodded. You better not die. Same to you. We split up, running in different directions. I reached a distance sufficiently far away from the center of conflict. I couldn't help but keep an eye on the fighting. on 11 saw Yuri. Spotted 11 bent down. The defeated soldier picked up his sword, uttering a few words. Then she rushed into the fray, smashing in the head of a vengeful ghost, moving in the direction of the Snake King. Clang, clang, the ghosts and the soldiers clashed. The Snake King, huge as he was, swatted the battlefield indiscriminately with her giant body and manipulated huge sections of water to drown and cut. It felt unreal. King Yanluo chased after the Snake King, attacking with their sword. The fight between the two appeared almost like a dance. With each attack, the other dodged and retaliated with shining cuts, splashing water. 11 rushed in, chasing after the Snake King as well. Falling in step with King Yanluo, she stopped and slashed at the Snake King fearlessly. I wanted to rush in and help, but I was too scared, too weak. I wanted to grab a sword too. I felt that I would just get in the way. Damn it. 11's added presence began to throw the Snake King onto the defensive, maybe because of how long 11 had accompanied her for. A large wave of roaring water flew towards the two attackers with a slow swipe by the Snake King's tail, making my heart nearly stop. The water itself was split apart by King Yanluo's blade. Unreal. Then, with one smooth movement, King Yanluo cut off the Snake King's tail. Ah! The blood sprayed out like hose water, red, leaking red. The tail bounced into the ground and twitched a few times before stopping. The Snake King flew back many meters, making a tactical retreat from King Yanluo when she spotted me watching. And then she came charging at me. I couldn't dodge. A blur of black and red dashed in front of my eyes before I could even brace myself. I heard a crunching sound that shouldn't have come from the human body. Warm red blood sprayed into my face. 11 had thrown herself in front of me, trying to block the Snake King, and gotten herself impaled through the chest with a large, terribly large fang. Her body was limp in the Snake King's mouth, far too much blood dripping into the ground, melting with her red dress, yet she still held onto the sword. Time seemed to stop. The snake was going to eat her. Suddenly the snake jolted, threw 11 to the side instead, sending her body hurtling through the air. King Yanluo had come chasing after the snake. The Snake King and King Yanluo resumed their violent dance. Well, rip, I guess. I ran to 11, ignoring the sword that had fallen now a meter away from her body. I was too ambitious. There was so much blood spilling from her body. All the red suited her. This was far too much red. I held her, but I didn't know what to do to stop the red from flowing. Maybe I'm just a weak little girl in the end. I shook my head profusely. No, she was so strong. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have anything to patch her up with. And even if I tried to put pressure on the wound, it was far too large for my hands to stop the blood. She coughed, her tattered body convulsing. But I'm glad that I rebelled against her, and that I did it before she devoured you too. Yeah, this is definitely similar vibes. I have only seen like people play Akai Ito, but I think it has like similar things too. As I said, yeah, I'm rather fond of you. Or like it was like years ago. Years ago. You don't need to talk. She shook her head. Even if we have known each other for a short period of time, I really am fond of you. My heart seemed to constrict. I felt as if something was stuck in my throat. I'm also fond of you, really. I like you. I think we could become really close given time. She was a kind person, although she held herself with a cold exterior, quickly at times. Underneath, she was warm in a way that couldn't be destroyed. Despite only knowing her for so little time, I had already caught a glimpse of that. And you know, you have a really pretty name, Yuen. I wondered if she didn't like her family name, Xia. If I were her, then I would have discarded the name of a useless family that threw me away. If that's so, then call me by that name. Yeah, Yuen is really pretty. So are you. Her words tickled my heart, but I couldn't feel happier when she was still bleeding. Is there any way to save you? Any afterlife magic or anything? I'm just a washed up divorced woman. What's the point? Well, like it doesn't matter in modern times, like half of marriages are a failure anyway. I was like, nope. Well, I guess in the hell, like she could marry. Which would have been more than in real life. Ironically. Something snapped in my brain. Then marry me. Shouldn't say that so easily. I was just deciding. Marriage wasn't as simple as proposing and figuring it out later. I was someone who couldn't even work out a long-term dating relationship. I just didn't want even to give up. But I shouldn't give up just yet, because that snake, is still there, still here. Kiss me and give me some of your life power, essence of your soul, if you're willing to. I kissed her. Her lips were soft. A warm energy passed from me to her. She bit down on my lower lip, drawing blood. Then, prodding with her warm tongue, she licked the blood from my lip. A tingling feeling rushed through me. My heart skipped a beat. I focused on kissing her and passing life power on her soft lips. My face was definitely flushed, my heart racing with an emotion, far from fear, much closer to delight. Our lips parted for air, and it seemed that we were done. Her lips appeared redder than before. The flow of blood from her chest had stopped. I helped Yvonne to her feet. Thank you. Her complexion looked better. She was blushing, pink reaching her ears in the cutest way. She walked to the side to pick up her sword, but rather than jumping back into the fray, she returned to my side. We looked toward the still continuing fight between the Snake King and King Yanluo. The Snake King appeared to be losing, bleeding from many cuts in the myriad of puddles on the ground. King Yanluo chased after her, swinging the blade relentlessly. No longer was it a dance, now it was a hunt. Unlike before, even I could follow the Snake King's movements. All the vengeful ghosts appeared to have been dealt with by the 10 Court's soldiers. I spotted Jiangsu standing near a few soldiers, being protected from any watery attacks. I felt relieved that she was safe. The Snake King began to flee from King Yanluo, yet perhaps furious that Yvonne had called the 10 Courts upon her. The Snake King charged in our direction. You. No. Yvonne charged at the giant snake with a sword in hand as well. She and the Snake King had their own short violent dance that lasted only as long as it took for Yvonne to get on top of the giant snake. Taking advantage of the weakened Snake King's lapse in judgment, Yvonne stabbed the sword into the Snake King's forehead. He pushed it into the Snake King's brain and forced the Snake King into a dirty puddle with a splash. The snake convulsed and stopped moving. I don't belong to you anymore. She kicked the snake corpse. King Yanluo approached, looking over the giant snake with a sword in her head, nodding to Yvonne and me. They seated their swords and retrieved a strange artifact from their sleeve. With a quietly murmured spell, they held the artifact out toward the snake. The snake was sucked into the artifact and disappeared from our sight. The snake demon has been judged and sealed. After that, King Yanluo had their people clean up. Jiangxi joined Yuan and me, standing off to the side waiting. She looked at our bloodied bodies and couldn't help but worry in a way that brought a sense of peace to my heart. By the time the people from the 10 Courts finished, this place looked almost as if no fight had occurred. Now we must deal with you 3 remaining. The 2 human souls, Quan Hailu and Cheng Yangxiu, should be returned to the cycle of reincarnation. Xiao Yuan must also be punished for her part in the False 11th Court and removed from the cycle of reincarnation. But surely we can't accept that. So King Yanluo spoke, but I couldn't accept that judgment. Without thinking, I stepped protectively in front of Yuan. Then realizing that I couldn't do anything to protect her, I dropped to my knees and prostrated myself before King Yanluo. Yuan should not be punished for the deeds of the Snake King. Why do you say that? I looked up, adjusting to a kneeling position, as I saw that King Yanlo did not appear to be upset by my request. However, they did not appear to accept it either. He's also a victim of the Snake King. Instead of being punished, she should be rewarded for her meritorious deeds in saving our lives and revealing the crimes of the fake 11th court. King Yanlo, please spare her. Following my lead, Yang Su kneeled before King Yanlo as well. I don't know what she did in the past, but I know that she helped us. The reason that you came here and found out about the Snake King's wrongdoings should be her sounding those drums. King Yanlo looked at the three of us. Yang Su and I were kneeling, while Yuan made no movement to beg for amnesty. Yuan shook her head. Thank you, but I will take my punishment. Everything I have done is for my own selfish reasons. What sort of expression was that? Were you really satisfied? I wanted to ask Yuan if this was really alright. My chest constricted, and I wanted to shout out that being human meant being selfish. That wasn't being selfish or right. Let me hydrate. Keep forgetting. Yeah. I didn't want to see her go out burning together with the people she hated. I felt that she still had life left to live, even if we were all already dead. You're sabotaging our efforts to save you. I didn't know what sort of expression I was making. Well. Yet I could see her smile. Remember me instead. She smiled as if a weight had been removed from her shoulders. For example, remember that Yuan existed and that Yuan was here. You like harmony when like multicolored clouds. If I look and remember Yuan, then Yuan will be satisfied enough. Letting out a light chuckle, she paused and tilted her head toward Yang Su. And if Chen Yang Su remembers me, then I wouldn't be unhappy either. Yang Su looked away a little shy. Yuan bowed to King Yanlo, making her own request to the King of Hell. Please grant you humans the reward that the false 11th court promised them, King Yanlo. They were forced to go through 3 cruel games with the promise that they would be allowed to undo their debts and return to the world of the living. Power left in the Snake King, that stolen power should be enough to return the 2 of them to life. They seem to be receiving many requests today. Then King Yanlo nodded. That is agreeable. Yet it wasn't agreeable to me. I wanted to go back to life, but if it were to be like this, then we would just be trading our lives for her life, even if she had died a long time ago. King Yanlo, please spare her. Why? I met King Yanlo's eyes and realized that they were cold, terribly cold. Because her life isn't that snake demon's thing It wasn't the snake's thing. It wasn't her father's thing. Both of those people took her life away from her. And I felt like that was so unfair. In what world was it okay? My tears dripped onto the ground. I realized I was crying. Silence. Then let's how Yuan live out a human life first. Live out the life taken from her by the snake demon and then be judged again by the 10 courts after her death. And that time as a human being like she should have been all along. A beauty case is not an issue to wait. That is to say, you will all return to the realm of the living to live out the remainder of your lives. He will see you again at the 10 courts one day. Oh, that was easy. Very like sorry, Japanese word. King Yanlo made a few gestures with the hands and began to chant a spell that I could not understand. Soon enough, this place began to be covered in particles of light. Rather perhaps the three of us were turning into light. Thank you. King Yanlo did not acknowledge our words any longer. Yangsu stood up, brushing off her knees. She seemed to squint, as if looking at something bright, and gazing at Yuan and me before shaking her head. Then, muttering "see you later," she turned and disappeared into the light. Yuan took my hand and pulled me up to my feet. Let's go. Warm light enveloped us. Events of that time felt just like yesterday. Yet in a blink of an eye, 4 years had already passed by since the game of life incident in the afterlife. While we never spoke about it to anyone else, Yangsu, Yuan, and I were all doing well and keeping in touch. Yangsu had gotten incredibly busy recently. The company she worked for making a breakthrough on cancer T-cell therapy and going through very successful clinical trials. As a major contributor to that project, her career seemed bright. Unfortunately, her free time was completely blocked out. I hadn't been able to meet with her in person much in the past month. As for Yuan, she had been trapped into my apartment as she was in the underworld, but as a living, breathing human being 4 years ago. A few difficulties arose with getting identification paperwork settled, but connections never failed to help. At the moment, she was going to school funded by the government and working part-time as an expert on ancient China. Well, I guess that works. She knows a lot about that, I guess. I didn't know how, but she managed to convince the government that she was, in fact, from the distant past, without being dissected or institutionalized. A difficult word. She'd become something of a minor VIP in the right circles. My career was also going rather smoothly, but all of these thoughts about our work and careers were just floating around in my mind because I was feeling a tad nervous. To think that I would be thinking about that sort of thing on a Friday afternoon. At the moment, I was sitting around in my apartment, fiddling with a little box in my jacket pocket. What I was really thinking about was my girlfriend. Yuri and I were dating. The little box in my pocket was something that I had prepared for her. As I thumbed the corners of the box, finding them soft and rounded, I wondered if she would like it when she arrived. Knock knock. I went to open the door, finding Yuri there. Come in, how was your day? It was alright. We chatted a while in the doorway about our day and various miscellaneous topics before Yuri suddenly took my hand into hers. How do engagements work in the modern world between women that is? I guess you can't do the engagement part like by yourself, but beyond that, probably not too great in China. Going further than that. Question mark. My brain seemed to churn to a halt. I want to ask you to marry me. My heart skipped a beat and I felt my cheeks begin to heat up. My face must have been terribly red. With that beautiful smile on hers, she continued talking while playing with my fingers. I'm unable to give you a dowry, and we haven't compared our 8 characters, yet it seems that those little rituals of the past are of little matter now. I have no idea how these are supposed to work. I love you, Hailu. I love you too. My heart was about to burst from happiness. Will you marry me? I nodded. Of course. I prepared rings to propose to. I pulled out the little box from my pocket, dropping the one name. Opened up the little box and revealed the ring that I had chosen after sneakily asking her weeks ago. Will you marry me, Yuri? Yes, of course. With hands trembling from joy, I slipped the ring into her right finger. She gestured me to give her a ring to pull on me as well, and I pulled out another little box from my other pocket. I guess like the ring thing. I would assume that it mostly comes from the West, and in like, well, ancient China, at least it was something different. Okay, let's try to finish this somehow, even though my throat is acting up a little bit. She gestured for me to give her a ring to put on me as well, and I pulled out another little box from my other pocket. Then this means you promise to spend a long, happy lifetime with me. She slipped the matching ring into my ring finger. I nodded. Yeah. Close your eyes. We kissed. A warm, soft kiss filled with love. Yeah, it was nice too. It was very like epic, the fight. It was epic, but I kinda like Youngsu's route better. But I don't know, like maybe it's just like it's easier to me to relate to, like when you have like known the character, like well, you can pretend that you have known the character for a long time. Or like you'd have to make like a really long game to make it feel right and not like super fast kind of relationship when you have like a fresh love, so to speak. But it was still really sweet. Like the like the stabbing scene, like it was a little troubling. Oh my, yeah. Hydration. Ooh. It was nice. It was nice for sure. Well, that was the final pricey soup, I guess. Thank you for watching. I'll try to make like a video out of like these horror games I have been playing, because I actually have things to say now. Like I have ideas. Not sure like if I'll be able to make it in time for Halloween, but I'll do my best. While also working on the games and stuff. So busy. And also, I guess playing Silksong tomorrow too. That on top of everything. Yeah. But this was fun. This was really great game. Really moody. I like that. Like out of the like 3 horror games I have played like recently, this had like the longest like content warning list, I guess. I guess like it kinda makes sense, I guess. There were a lot of things, but well, I'll talk about it in the video, but I think like content warnings alone, like if you're a wimp like me who can't like take too much like bloody imagery and stuff, like content warnings are really scary. When you see like like cannibalism and stuff, like sure, that happened, but it was like maybe like 1% of the story or less. But like cannibalism is a really like strong word, so if you see that in the warning list, you're like whoa, like the game is surely going to be yikes if there is that. And I have like like maybe like some ideas that developers could do to like make horror games like more wimp friendly, but well, the content warnings lists and such, but maybe it doesn't matter. Because I realized that well it is actually like a medical condition that you faint when you see blood and stuff. Also like things that go under the same category, like seeing blood and like fear of needles and like well being in pain and like being in like emotional like distress, like those kind of things can make you faint if you have the like medical condition. It was like reflex syncope or something. But only like 1,000 people or something have it. So it's really unlikely, so maybe like the advice is kinda useless. In reality, like it's a really small minority. I guess like the thing you can like learn is just that like, well, content warning for blood is helpful for 1 in 1,000 people. But yeah, it's kind of wild. Kind of wild knowing that that's actually a thing. Like something like you basically have like a reflex that makes like either your like heart rate slow down or your blood pressure stop, and that makes you faint, something like that. So well, I guess I kinda have that then. You can, I guess, get a diagnosis for it, but what is it worth for? What is it worth for when the cure is to not see like the triggering thing anyway? Anyway, I feel better about Yuri horror games, at least, as long as, well, they are tame. They are pretty sweet actually. I'm a fan of the atmosphere. That's nice. But it's just hard to figure out like what games are safe. But well, I will, I guess, rely on advice at least. Like that has worked for sure. So like, thank you for the advice. These have been great games. So yeah, I guess I'll be often to like, well, work on graphics for my game. Yeah, I appreciate that. It will be helpful, I guess, like next year or so, because the spooky season is more or less over. I guess like there is still like next Friday, which is the Halloween, so maybe I can find something small for that. Who knows? Anyway, thank you for watching and comments and help and everything. See you later. Bye bye.